Welcome back to Families in Action on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm Cary Quashen, and we got a special show going on now, Jerry, don't we?
We do.
You want to tell us what's going on, and then I'll introduce our guest?
Well, you know, I was in Colorado Springs with our oldest son that's going to on his third deployment this weekend, and
which you have our prayers and thoughts for him.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And this was the last time we were going to see him, but he's a captain in charge of a unit, and I was with my daughter-in-law as she was defriending people on Facebook, and she's also in charge of the FRG, the Families Ready.
Right.
Yeah, right. So if something happens, she's the point person, and there's a line of command from her. And a lot of the communication is on Facebook. But she had gotten so angry from some of the posts that she was going through her book and defriending people, and I'm going, is this the point that we've gotten to? And I thought, you know, we all have our opinions, and it's sad. This whole thing is very sad because it had this ripple effect that's heartbreaking for me.
You know, it's heartbreaking for me too. I was at group last Tuesday night running a parent-teen support group, and I had two moms ready to box over a vote. It's like, what in the world is going on around here?
I get the passion, but what worries me is the extremes of the passion that is the ripple effect and what imprint we're having on our children and our grandchildren. That's what's very scary. And we do have an expert here. Oh, yeah. No, we brought Delise Diaz, psychotherapist here in Santa Clarita, and one of the best we have. And you actually asked her to come on because this is so deep in your heart right now. Yeah, you know, absolutely. Because I see, you know, I, as a business, an employer in this community, have my views were different than my staff. And the next morning when I came in, you know, Carl and I had talked about it. We weren't going to come in and gloat. We were just going to come in and do our job and hope that would be effective with our own staff, that they weren't going to come in and be upset or however that looked. And, you know, even hoping that, you know, there was someone elected that had bad behavior, and it starts with him, and I think he's starting to clean up his act, because I would love to have a session with him on this.
You're not the only one.
I had a dream, because I'd really like to set him straight and show him what he's done. You know, I dream about it. It's crazy, but from now we need to heal, and these people need a voice, but there's a way to have that voice.
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I am here to talk about how to create unity in the midst of all the dissension and the conflict. And one of the things that I do want to start with is that conflict cannot survive without our participation. That's one of the perspectives that I hope.
Say that again. I like that.
Conflict cannot survive without our participation. So what I would like I'd like us all to address today is how to come together and be empowered rather than be the victims and be powerless. Because a lot of what we're seeing with the conflict and the fighting and the riots and the vulgarity and the negativity is really stemming from fear. And fear is always, 100% of the time, going to take us off course. And what we need to be focusing on is how to stay on course as a nation in the midst of this man is elected. So now what? So now what do we do to come together? And that's what today's show is going to be about.
Exactly. You know, I asked Josh from the California Highway Patrol to stay. He was on our show before that. And I asked him to stay because usually when he's on this show, he's not in uniform. And today he is. Why?
Well, I'm in my BDUs, which are the tactical uniform, because they put us on standby. They put us on standby for the protests. Right now they're somewhat peaceful in LA. You know, they're staying on the sidewalks, staying off the freeways, staying off the roadways. And it's for their safety and it's for everybody else's safety that we're out there right now. Right. So if they want to voice their opinion, I have no problem with it. I don't think anybody has any problem with voicing opinion. It's when you start affecting property and human life.
Right.
Protesting the things that apparently they're fighting for. So if we are demonstrating in any way, it should be for peace, and it should be creating options and opportunities for people who actually have the desire to create a change in the world, and I definitely stick by Gandhi's quote of be the change that you wish to see in this world. And if people really stood by being that change, then we really could make a positive difference in this world. And that's what we're here to talk about.
So hanging out on the freeways and what I'm looking at Facebook, Jerry. What's going on?
It was interesting because I don't go on very often. In the traveling, staying in the airports, I was on it quite a bit because I was so shocked by what was going on. But you said a key word for me. I know that for me, when I'm being that person that I strive to be, not a doer, but being in that space is when I can make a change.
Right. Well, if we want to create love, you can't be rioting and you can't be using vulgar language, because that's not the definition of love. You need to be, if you want to create love in your environment or peace in your environment or equality in your environment, then you need to behave in alignment with that. You need to behave accordingly so that you're taking actions that match your cause. And so there are many opportunities that people have. I want to know how many people who are out there rioting or picketing or doing the things that they're doing, what have they done to actually serve the underprivileged? What have they done to volunteer their time for the cause that they're supposedly fighting for? That's the difference that we can make. And one of the greatest, most important factors to remember, the anxiety that we're seeing is really caused by the loss of a perceived structure. So what I mean by that is that we believe that this one man has the power to define us, our children, our families, our communities, and our nation, and that is absolutely false. There's no truth in that one man can define who we are and what we do and what we stand for. So we can agree to disagree respectfully. That's what this nation is built off of. That's the power that we have, is we have such a variety. If we were all cookie cutters and carbon copies of one another, it would be not only extremely boring, but it'd be scarier than it is now.
It would be scary and boring, you're right. Go ahead.
So, as a parent, for me, a grandparent, what do you suggest? How do we explain this to our children?
Okay, well, the most important thing that we need to remember is that we have control over three things.
Ourselves.
What we think, the thoughts that we put into our minds, the stories we create, that's what we think.
The stories we create.
The stories we create, those are our thoughts.
Right.
The second thing is what we actually say. We're responsible and accountable for what comes out of our mouth. And then the third thing is what we do about it. We're 100% responsible for the actions we take for everything in our lives. So, to our children, we need to be those role models. We need to be the role model of the values that we say we hold. So on one hand, people are so worried to point the finger at Trump and what's happening and this and that, but it starts with us as individuals and human beings, and it starts with us teaching our children well and being the role model and the example. So for instance, I wrote some very loving comment on my Facebook about, because I stay as neutral as possible, being as united as I possibly can be. That's being the change that I wish to see, is bringing people together. That's what I do for a living, is help people live their best life. So in that, I wrote, I know some incredible people that voted for Hillary, and I know some incredible people that voted for Trump, and those that voted for Trump are not misogynistic, racist people, and those that voted for Hillary are not, whatever their reputation is, right? I don't want to get into the Hillary-Trump debate. I want to get into what can we do today to fight for our nation, to come together, because believe me, our nation will be successful when we come together. It's just like a company. If the head of the company, everybody's going in different directions, not supporting the company, then it's going to fall and it's going to fail, and it's a very dangerous position to be in when our nation has elected this man And if we don't find ways to come together to support the causes of, the things that everybody stands for, about what this great nation stands upon, our freedom, then we're not going to see the success that we potentially could see, because he's not even in office yet. He's elected.
Right.
And everybody's panicking as if the nation's going to fall in one day. And the reality is that we have a lot of power to individually affect our country when we actually look at our own actions, our own selves, teach our children well with regard to, they say if you support Trump, then you support sexual assault. Well, how crazy is that?
Yeah, that's not even rational thinking.
It's not rational thinking, but some people have said that. Those remarks on Facebook have been...
Yes.
Right. It's disheartening, but it's also extremely concerning that you think that the people that write that believe that they're powerless over things like sexual assault. That what I mean by that is that Trump, if some of the things that he said were actually true, or where he was, that locker room talk that we're hearing about, well, our little girls, that's not the first time they're ever going to hear that, nor will it be the last time. And so It's our duty, it's our responsibility and obligation as parents to teach our children how to value themselves and how to know how to be a worthy, strong, resilient woman in the midst of evil, because there's going to be a lot of evil before and after Trump.
Well, and it's interesting, one of our neighbors has a fourth grader, and last week he got busted in school, this is after the election, by the teacher, because he was drawing pictures of tanks on his, free time in the class. He had finished his work, tanks with guns. Well, this is a little boy that dreams someday of being in the Army.
Right.
I went home, and my neighbor was calling me going, what do I do? And I said, I just curious, because I had all of my kids' stuff by age group, and I pulled it out. My son did that same thing. He dreamed of being in the Army, going to West Point, and this was, around 9/11, and he made his dream come true. He wanted to defend our country. And now this kid she had to go into the principal.
Because he draw pictures of tanks.
So this is where, a teacher...
Josh, help. What is it?
I don't know. Well, what if the kid drew a picture of a dinosaur?
Exactly.
What if he drew a picture of a bird? What if he drew a picture of a boat? It's his opinion, right?
That's right.
It's what he wants to draw.
That's exactly where we're
But
going.
this is the divide that we're at, and it's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
What we think was one of the things that we have ultimate control over within ourselves. And when we think that our nation is going to fall and people are going to be, all of these catastrophic stories that we're making up have not even come to pass, and of course we don't want it to, but they're stories, and when you believe those stories, then you're going to feel anxious, and when you feel anxious, you're going to act in irrational, irresponsible ways. And what did I say at the beginning? It's all based on fear.
And we're watching that happen now.
Right. And
Yeah, it's fear.
so what if, like Josh said, what if we told ourselves different stories? What if we said, this could be the greatest turning point our nation has ever seen? And what if we were open-minded to that?
Right.
What if? It's just a thought, just as much as, we're doomed, right? But why not think about something different?
And the people have voted. So clearly, and I'm not going to get into debates what's right and what's wrong, but I love what Obama said. And what Obama said, I think, is wonderful. The sun's going to shine. And what you said, Josh, is when you woke up this morning and what?
Beautiful day. Yesterday was a beautiful day, too.
Isn't it a beautiful day?
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. And to the people that take on the perspective that our nation's falling, they wake up and they say it's a horrible day. And really, the only difference is your thought. There are many, many things.
The only difference is what?
Your thoughts.
Again?
Your thoughts,
Did
your
you hear
stories.
That? That's right.
Yes, and one of the things that we can, like I was suggesting and inviting everybody to consider, is that this could be one of the best events our nation has ever experienced. We don't know. We have no idea.
How do we know? It
Right.
didn't happen yet.
Exactly. But the fear is creating all the chaos and the dissension, and that's that's exactly what we're hoping to talk about today, is bringing unity to all of us as a nation.
And from what I understand, the most important thing is we're the meaning maker
Yes.
of our own destination. And I know that for me, I will get into a situation and I have a novel completely created within minutes, signed off, autographed, ready to go off to the publisher. And it just takes me a few minutes to, okay, step back and change my story.
That's what I was going to ask Delise, is how do we change our story? Because so many people, they're so stuck right now and almost blind in a box. How do we get them out of that box? How do we get people, how do we change our thoughts?
Well, Dr. Wayne Dyer, one of the greatest speakers and philosophers of all time, said change the way you look at things, and the things you look at will change. And so there is a way to change your story, and I'll just say the easiest way: whatever you're fearing, whatever you're anxious about, think about the exact opposite and say, well, what if that were true too? Because when you're telling yourself a catastrophic story, the feelings that will follow will be anxiety, depression, fear, stress, chaos.
Which we're seeing.
That's right.
That's why Josh is in uniform.
So, yes. And so the opposite of that could be what? Like I said, it could be the most amazing opportunity we've ever had to be a part of. So noticing that the difference is the story we tell ourselves is going to create the change. Now, people will still hold on to that fear because they're going to be stuck in the story. But the way to heal our nation is to really create a different opportunity for the story to be an amazing one.
And you know what? We don't know. It didn't happen yet. And I tell you what, I need to be optimistic. I need to say, wow, maybe the people voted, maybe they know something, and maybe this is really going to turn our country around. And I'm going to stay there.
How do you feel when you think that thought?
I feel good.
Exactly. You feel hopeful, right?
Yeah, and I felt anxiety when he won too. I mean, I'm not even going to get into who I voted for because it doesn't matter. But I felt anxiety. But you know what? Why?
How'd you change the story? What did you tell yourself instead?
By telling myself, maybe we need a difference. Maybe this is what's going to help America become different and better.
So you changed the way you looked at things.
I changed the way we looked at things. And I know we're getting call-ins, and I'm going to invite people to call in, which is 661-298-5487. But we're not going to take any call-ins until after the break, which we're going to have in about a minute or two. So please, if you want to call in, it's 661-298-5487. We'd love to hear your thoughts, as long as they're positive. We don't want people calling up and doing all.
You know what?
I welcome the conversation, so I'm okay with people having different opinions. I think it might give us a good format to discuss maybe some alternate ways of thinking. And since I'm here and that's what I do for a living,
you're the expert. Works for me.
Okay.
It works for me. You're the expert. That's why we asked you here today.
Right. And then too, if you're on your way out and want to hear the show, be sure to download the free KHTS app on your iPhone and Android devices. Now you can listen to KHTS wherever you are. You can also access KHTS News, social media, and more. The easiest way is to get to your app, go to your app store, and it's a free download, KHTS. So I'm going to let you guys take it over here.
You can YouTube it too, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely, in a couple days.
All right.
So I'm going to let you guys go to break, and we'll be back with a special edition of Families in Action.
Thank you.